In January 2013, the Edison Electric Institute, the trade association for all U.S. investor-owned electric companies, convened its executives at a private conference. Their internal presentation was titled Disruptive Challenges. It identified one specific existential threat to their entire business model: not a foreign competitor, not a nuclear breakthrough, a homeowner with a solar panel on their roof. The report calculated that if residential solar kept spreading, it would trigger a utility death spiral. Fewer customers buying grid power, rates would spike. More customers would leave until the entire $400 billion electric utility system structurally unraveled. Their response was not to adapt. Their response was to act. What they did not mention in that room was that the technology to destroy their monopoly had been proven on a New York rooftop 129 years earlier. Welcome to Survival Lost Vault. This is where we dig up what the industry buried. In 1839, a French physicist named Edmond Becquerel observed that certain metals produce a voltage when exposed to light. He published his findings and then watched the coal industry carry on without interruption. 40 years later, a French mathematician named Augustin Mouchot built a working solar steam engine and demonstrated it at the Paris World Exposition in 1878. Two independent scientists, two countries, the same conclusion. The sun converts to electricity. The physics work. Then in 1883, a New York inventor named Charles Fritts coated a thin wafer of selenium with gold, held it up to sunlight, and measured a continuous electrical current. He had built the first solar cell in human history. 1 year later, Fritts installed the world's first rooftop solar array on a building in New York City. He wrote publicly that his panels would eventually compete directly with Thomas Edison's coal-fired power plants. Edison dismissed him. The scientific establishment ignored him. Fritts applied for a patent and died without ever receiving one. But the physics were undeniable. By 1954, 3 scientists at Bell Telephone Laboratories in Murray Hill, New Jersey, named Darrell Chapin, Calvin Fuller, and Gerald Pearson, accidentally discovered that exposing a silicon semiconductor to light produced a massive electrical current. They spent a year refining it. On April 25, 1954, Bell executives demonstrated the silicon solar cell publicly for the first time, converting 6% of incoming sunlight into electricity. The New York Times put it on the front page, calling it potentially the beginning of a new era and the realization of one of humanity's most cherished dreams. 4 years later, the U.S. military confirmed everything Fritts had written in 1884. Vanguard 1, the first solar-powered satellite, launched into orbit in 1958, running entirely on Bell solar cells. The Army and Navy had just certified this technology for the most demanding operating environment in human history. By the late 1970s, the momentum was unstoppable. In 1979, President Jimmy Carter installed 32 solar panels on the White House roof to heat the cafeteria and laundry. He set a national renewable energy goal, created the Department of Energy, and established a 30% federal tax credit for residential solar. The road was finally open. And then the empire struck back. In 1986, the Reagan administration quietly removed every one of Carter's solar panels from the White House roof and put them in a warehouse in Virginia. When asked if they would be reinstalled, a spokesperson said it would be very unwise based on cost. But the actual cost they were worried about was their credibility with the oil and gas industry. Under Reagan, the Department of Energy's renewable research budget was gutted. The tax credits were killed, oil prices dropped, and the industry bought itself 3 decades of monopoly. Fast forward to 2013, the Edison Electric Institute meeting. Solar had finally gotten cheap enough that ordinary homeowners were installing it themselves. Facing their death spiral, the utility lobby partnered with the American Legislative Exchange Council to draft model legislation targeting net metering, the policy that allows homeowners to sell their excess solar power back to the grid. If you kill net metering, you destroy the economics of residential solar. Within 2.5 years, bills to make net metering illegal or more costly had been introduced in nearly 24 state legislatures, many of them word-for-word copies of the lobbyist draft. The machine worth $400 billion does not accept a loss of monopoly without a fight. Here is what you can do about it this weekend for about $500. A functional entry-level solar power system requires exactly 3 components: a solar panel, a charge controller, and a battery. The panel generates the electricity. The charge controller stabilizes the voltage and protects the battery from being overcharged or damaged. The battery stores what the panel collects. It is the same three-part architecture that has powered satellites since 1958, and it costs almost nothing to replicate on a workbench. At any hardware store or online retailer right now, a 400-watt monocrystalline solar panel runs about $150. A 30-amp MPPT charge controller is about $45. A 100-amp-hour lithium iron phosphate battery is roughly $200. Wire, connectors, and fuses add another $20. The complete system lands under $450. What that system produces depends on location and season, up to 2 kilowatt-hours of electricity per day. Lights, laptop and phone charging, a small refrigerator, a router, a radio. In an off-grid cabin, an RV or a workshop, it is an independent power source from the first day it sees sunlight. The one detail most people discover the hard way is this: connect the battery to the charge controller before the solar panel. The controller reads the battery voltage first to calibrate correctly. If you connect the panel first, you risk burning out the controller. Battery first, then the panel. The controller confirms the connection, and from that point the system runs itself. No maintenance, no moving parts, no monthly bill from a company that spent 140 years making sure you did not know this existed. A homeowner in New Mexico documented his 2024 installation publicly. He installed 1,200 watts of panels, a 400 amp-hour battery bank, and a 60-amp controller. The total cost was $3,200 including installation. His grid savings averaged $127 per month. The system paid for itself in 25 months. After that, every cent goes back into his pocket, not the utility companies. Be honest about the limits. A 400-watt entry setup does not replace a whole house grid connection running central air conditioning, an electric stove, and an electric dryer at the same time. Those loads require a system 10 times larger. What this entry system does is permanently eliminate a measurable portion of your monthly bill from day one and give you a modular foundation you can expand one component at a time as your budget allows. A homeowner in New Mexico documented his 2024 do-it-yourself installation. 1,200 watts of panels, a 400 amp-hour battery bank, and a 60-amp controller. Total cost was $3,200. Grid savings averaged $127 per month. The system paid for itself in 25 months. After that, every cent he saves is money the utility company never sees again. The average American household pays $1,956 per year for electricity. That money goes out the door every year, every decade for the rest of your life in that house. A professionally installed system averages $19,000. A do-it-yourself entry system costs $450. The gap between what the industry charges and what the components actually cost is a margin they built and defended with lobbyists, legislation, and a warehouse in Virginia. Charles Fritts put a panel on a roof in 1884. He was right about the technology, but he was wrong about how long the competition would take, because the $400 billion utility industry never allowed the competition to start on equal terms. You cannot patent sunlight. You cannot lobby away physics, and you cannot put a meter on a panel you already own. 3 components, one afternoon, and a battery that charges itself every time the sun rises. That is the system they spent 140 years trying to make sure you never built. If this video opened the vault for you, hit the like button and subscribe to Survival Lost Vault. Share this with someone who is still paying the grid for an answer we have had since 1954. And let's keep pulling what they buried back out into the light. See you in the next episode.